tonight. And in order to determine who the loser of the debate is, we have to figure out how many people right now do think that quality is of the utmost importance. So I'm going to start with the proposition, but before I turn it over to Barry, I'm going to ask your opinion. So here's the proposition. Be it resolved that ensuring quality, the foundational bedrock of online instructional effectiveness, is critical to acceptance, adoption, and diffusion of virtual learning. Therefore, all components, content, teaching, services, etc., of online instruction must be of the highest possible levels of quality. I'd like to start by seeing, just raise your hands, how many people agree with that proposition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 18, 19. We have 19 in favor right now.
And you didn't mention some Barry agreed to buy beer too if he wins.
I'm sorry, Terry?
Did Barry agree to buy beer also if he wins?
I didn't give him that option to agree or decline before we got here.
As long as there's beer involved.
All right, all components of online instruction must be of the highest possible levels of quality. I'm going to turn it over to Barry. You have 6 minutes to make your argument.
Good morning. I need to turn on my stopwatch because Garn always cheats on this time thing. All right. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I want to start by just saying that the very statement that quality in education doesn't matter is ludicrous and possibly dangerous. Before I mention anything about quality in education, I just want to talk about quality in other areas of life. Generally speaking, do you prefer high quality or do you prefer low quality? Quality is not an on-off switch. It's not that you either have quality or you don't have quality. It's a continuum. So at the low end of the continuum, you have 0, or the lowest possible quality. At the other end, you have maximum, the highest possible quality. And of course, most things fall somewhere in between. But it's really not a question of a 0 or no quality whatsoever, or what I should say, it's not a question of quality or not quality. It's a question of how much. So again, without even putting it in the context of education, it's challenging to come up with something in your everyday life that you don't prefer high quality over low quality. You know, and the simple ones like the food that you eat and the water that you drink, that's obvious you prefer high quality over low quality, other things equal. And of course other things are not always equal, but that's where you start doing some cost-benefit analyses and that sort of thing. All right, so even the conversation you have with the flight attendant on your flight into California, high quality preferred or low quality preferred? In fact, I would challenge you to come up with an area in your lives where you prefer low quality over high quality, or that quality is just irrelevant to it. And I think you'll find that those are pretty difficult to come up with. So for us to think that education should be the one that falls into this quality doesn't matter thing just doesn't seem very reasonable to me at all. So there's little doubt in my mind that we've entered into a culture of consumerism, consumer culture in education. And many educators don't like this very much. And that's too bad, but there's very little that you can actually do about that. If there's questions around quality, maybe defined differently than you and I would define quality in education, but it's questions around quality that lead students to create sites like Rate Your Professors and Pick a Prof and the fabulously named Facebook application Don't Get Effed. If you don't think that those have something to do with students' perceptions of quality, I think you're mistaken. And so quality is important to students. Quality, I think, is important to almost all educators. It's a question of what we do, what the decisions we make, the services we support, and the things that we do to increase the quality of the service from the educational field. And in particular, I'm talking about not just the quality of the teaching and learning, but the quality of the services we provide, the support systems in place, and that sort of thing. I come from Minnesota. It's one of the 19 states in the Higher Learning Commission of North Central Association of Colleges and Schools. We adopted, probably 8 or 9 years ago now, an alternate accreditation path called AQUIP, Academic Quality Improvement Program. So our accreditors think that quality is important, but if Mr. Garn can convince the accrediting body that quality is not important, then maybe he can convince me of that as well. But I'm thinking that that might be a tough tough mountain to climb for him. Why do we pay more attention to quality in online learning than we do in face-to-face learning? This is something that I probably talked about every year and many times a year actually since we started online learning at my college, which is now 13 years ago. Well, the first reason, and again the question is, why do we pay more attention to quality in online learning? And the first reason is because we can, for one thing. To question the quality of traditional face-to-face classroom is to question the very validity of the educational process that's been going on for decades. It's been put up on a pedestal, much of that pedestal putting by us, the academic community. Okay, so to question the quality in that environment is basically politically incorrect within the academy. But online learning is an example of a few different things that have come along more recently. Something that is new, something where we can question the quality without necessarily undermining somebody's authority. In fact, a lot of times it's just we want to know. We have some curiosity about something that we don't have hundreds of years of experience with. And so the fact that we can question quality leads us to some of the other reasons about why we should question quality. For online learning, have you ever had, or for education at all, and this would somewhat hold true at a K-12 environment, but a little bit more of a captive audience, kind of, not exactly, but especially in higher ed, which is where most of my experience is, you would have the situation where a student would come to your campus, sit in a classroom with the worst professor at the college. And this is, of course, academics don't like to think about that, but in fact there is one. You know, again, there's a continuum. Somebody is the best professor in the entire college, according to someone, and somebody is the worst, and then everyone else falls in between. So a student comes to class and sits in that class for a semester and walks out of that class and says, I will never take another class from this college again. Well, no, they don't. They never, ever say that, as a matter of fact, because they know there's variability. They know that they're going to sign up again and they're going to get a much better professor, and they talk to their friends in the hall and everything else, and they sign up differently. But if their very first experience online with you is that really bad experience, chances are they'll never take another online class from you. They may never take another online class again from anybody. It's just different, and that's the way it is.
Thank you, Barry.